Malcontent News is a team of journalists, activists, and researchers with three key missions. A commitment to show an unfiltered view of the before, during, and after of key events, live, as it happens. To defend the First Amendment using our rights of a free press. And to amplify the voices of underrepresented individuals including Black, Indigenous, persons of color, and the LGBTQIA+ community. Our team is committed to seeking equality for all and holding those in power accountable. The easiest way to support Malcontent News is to bookmark our website at malcontentnews.com, like and follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, and in the Google News app. To provide financial support, you can become a patron, make a one-time donation through Venmo, or link your Twitch account to your Amazon Prime account and use your free subscription to subscribe to Malcontent News. Thank you for supporting independent journalism and for being a malcontent. Good evening, malcontents. My name is David. I am the Malcontent. It is another episode of Malcontentment Happy Hour. We're running a little late today because the technology gods are not being kind to our guests tonight. There's apparently some Comcast issues where one of our guests is located, and we're having a lot of connection problems that we've been trying to sort through. Before we pull that in, I want to start talking a little bit about our breaking news story that broke around 4 o'clock this afternoon. We have this up on our website, which is malcontentnews.com. Don't go there quite yet. And the other thing is, because we're in a little bit of a mad scramble for the technology issues, go ahead, please, and spam those hearts. This is a good time to spam those hearts. Let those mods and admins and editors and everybody else know that you love and appreciate them. If you're not feeling very spammy, you can go ahead and give us likes. We accept likes also. If you're watching us on Twitch and you're like, I can't spam hearts, you can use our emotes if you're a subscriber. If you're on YouTube, this is the point where you can just kind of go, love you mods, love you admins in the comments, and we're there. The other thing, I guess, on the housekeeping comments I should have is Jennifer has the week off. Jennifer will be back next week. And so with kind of all of that intro, let's go into this breaking situation that is happening in Kirkland, and then we will go ahead and pull in our guest for the evening. About 4 o'clock today, the Lake Washington School District's website was hacked. And again, you can go ahead to our website, malcontentnews.com. There are images up there from the hack that happened today. With that said, we've put them behind a protection image. The other thing is, if you use the Google News app, or if you find us on Newsbreak, our service agreements with them do not allow us to show those images, even with the, hey, it's that bad. So if you have the curiosity, if you want to see the images, we can't share them on social. I can't show them on the show. Like, we're not talking vacation. We are talking everything would be shut down if we showed it. But we do have them up on the website. There's an image. If you go to the website, it's in a photo gallery that's over it, which is like, you make this image go away, it's going to get gross. The website currently has a message that says it is down, at least when we last looked. The Lake Washington School District released a press release 15 minutes ago. And while we were working on technical difficulties in parallel, we have added that press release to the story. Although, to be candid, the show pre-roll was running when that hit publish. So if there's any typos in that, we will get to them. You're just going to have to forgive them. It's just another example, and a sad example, when people go, oh, racism doesn't exist, systemic racism doesn't exist, Joe Biden's been elected and it's all been solved, Derek Chauvin's in prison, it's all been solved. Yeah, it hasn't been solved. And with that, let's cross our fingers here that this works. Wow. Well, that's just kind of weird what happened there. Let's try this again. Wait a minute. I know exactly what's going on here. Boom. We're going to go like that. That's how we're going to fix this right now. That's not going to solve. You just got to love live production here. Hey, there we go. We're good. And you want to know the bad news? We lost Nikayla. Like literally, I got myself sorted out just in time for the system to dump Nikayla. Focus on me, camera. Focus on me. Let me see if I can pull Nikayla back in, but it looks like we may have lost her. It does appear we have lost Nikayla. Give me, here, we're going to do this. In all sincerity, malcontents, I don't know if we're gonna have a show tonight. I can freestyle it right now. I can attempt a bad rap. I kind of don't know what to tell people at the moment here. This isn't on our side. The unfortunate issue that is going on here is again the challenge that we're having is there is a Comcast outage apparently. And so where our guest is at, Wi-Fi is a major problem, and they don't have very good cell coverage. So we're trying to sort that out. So again, I don't know if we're gonna have a show. How's that, malcontents? How's everybody doing tonight? All 34 of you that are watching right now. If you're just tuning in, what's happening is we had planned an interview with two guests tonight to talk about Juneteenth activity, racism on the east side, and some other issues. Our connection's fine. Our web connection is fine. Everything here is fine. The problem is where our guests are at, they are experiencing a Comcast outage right now. They don't have internet. They're trying to connect through a phone. But unfortunately, you have an area where everybody's on a Comcast blackout, so everybody's using their phone for data. So they're not feeling a lot of data love there. So probably what we'll do is we'll give this a few more minutes up. We're going to try this again. Nikayla, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, we can barely hear you though.
How about now?
We can hear you a little better now. Let's go ahead and pull you in, and we'll just cross our fingers. And I know that there's one other thing that I need to do. I need to move out of troubleshooting mode. There we go.
I'm in my car where my Sprint Wi-Fi is. So
and I apparently need to wiggle over or something here. So the camera, I'm a little more in focus on the camera. Nikayla, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate your adaptability. And we'll keep our fingers crossed that we can talk to you for more than 30 seconds before it drops off. I think what we'll do to just jump into the meat of this, let's talk about what's going on for Juneteenth, right? Normally, what I was, we'll do this backwards. So
Okay.
let's talk about your Juneteenth event, and then we will talk about Juneteenth in general. So we're going to flip around the order of how we were going to talk.
Okay, so for my Juneteenth event, I'm working for Eastside for All and my grassroots nonprofit Eastside Embrace. We're working with the city of Redmond and Kirkland to really show, and educate people about Juneteenth. We're going to have performances and poets and speakers, and we're going to even have a Black graduate honoring. So we're going to have students who just graduated and they're going to walk the stage of Redmond Downtown Park in the performance area where they have the stage, and it's just going to be not just a day of celebration but a day of holding space and really trying to understand and grasp what Juneteenth really is.
And what's the time when this starts?
It starts at noon and ends around 3. So yeah, so it's going to be at the Redmond Downtown Park.
Do you know the address off the top of your head? I know we're kind of under challenging circumstances because you're not where you want to be set up. You're sitting in your car. You're on your phone. Like this, all of this is suboptimal. So
It is suboptimal. I will give you that information if I can tonight, and then if you can post it on your website. I
yeah, well,
apologize for the inconvenience.
no, that's okay. Um, I guess my next question is why don't we discuss the history of Juneteenth and where this began?
So talking about Juneteenth, so it first began, and I'm going to mess up the dates. I myself am not as educated, but Jubilee, it started in Texas, and is what basically it's when the last slaves were freed after the proclamation, but when had already signed the declaration saying slaves were free. So what happened was, I'm going to mess this up. I apologize. But basically, the last slaves were freed and were promised some type of land after. And a lot of the slaves who were freed weren't even allowed that. And so we have this celebration for the last people being freed. The last African Americans and the enslaved people actually being, liberated in that sense, even though we're still fighting for liberation today. And so there's going to be a lot more in-depth conversation at the Juneteenth event. And we're actually going to have some great educators who know more information, who have lived in Texas and know everything there is to know about it. So I'll be educated myself. I'm hosting this because I think that should, but everyone. And I think it's crazy that, at this one of the first holidays even announced.
We may be losing Nicaila there. Nicaila, I know that Juneteenth started as a holiday. Texas was actually the first state to pass it. It was passed in 1980. Today, President Joe Biden signed Juneteenth into federal law. So next year it'll be a federal holiday. If it falls on a Saturday or Sunday, what I had read is it will be honored on the Friday before. So like this year, Juneteenth would be on 19th. So if the federal law had passed, it would be celebrated tomorrow on the 18th, and we have lost Nicaila. I gotta love technology. Thank you, Comcast. It's like a really important broadcast tonight. We'll roll a spot. That's what we'll do. Hi, Malcontents. I'm David, the Malcontent, and I'd like to talk to you for a moment about supporting independent media. When you support us, you help us bring the before, during, and after. You help us defend the First Amendment. You help us amplify BIPOC and LGBTQIA voices, and you help us hold leaderships at a local, state, and federal level accountable. None of this would be possible without support by viewers just like you. When you become a patron for as little as $5 a month, you help buy technology, safety equipment, and help cover travel expenses so that we can continue to bring you news that you trust. If you can't become a patron, you can do a one-time donation on Venmo, and your dollars will go to the exact same causes. With your continued support, we can continue to amplify BIPOC and LGBTQIA voices while showing the truth on what is happening in the world around us. Once again, thank you. Go to commercial. Go to commercial.
I can't. You know what?
All right, here we go. We're going to pull you back in.
Thank you. Can you
Okay,
hear me?
it looks like we've got you back.
Thank you.
Okay, so what I was saying before, I don't know what you had heard. Texas passed Juneteenth in 1980. Joe Biden signed Juneteenth into law today. So Juneteenth will become a federal holiday. It passed the Senate in unanimous consent. The House, it was 14 that voted no, 415 voted yes. The 14 that all voted no should be no surprise. They were all Republican. They were all male. And 11 of the 14 came out of districts with minuscule Black populations. Interestingly, 3 of the no votes did come from districts that actually have significant Black populations. I guess here's my question, because this is the feels that I have. There's part of me that goes like the golf clap, yay, because okay, we made Juneteenth a federal holiday. Joe Biden signed it, and we can't get a Voters' Rights Act passed. We're trying to kill the 1619 program. We don't want to teach critical race theory. All these states are passing laws preventing peaceful protest. All these Republican-led states are passing laws going, hey, it's totally cool to run over protesters with your car.
Yes.
So it's like, all right, so you get a holiday, but we're really not doing any of the work. That's my hot take this evening.
That's completely right. It's optical allyship at its finest. It's the biggest optical allyship, where we have the president, we have the vice president, we have everyone who is saying that racism isn't here. Look, we're here. We're supposed to be advocating. But at the end of the day, Black people are dying at increased rates. Black folk are dealing still with the oppression in so many ways, and no one is advocating for us in the right way. Except this time, we have a federal holiday. It's a slap in the face. It's so much disrespect that I feel like if Malcolm X was here today, he'd roll over in his grave, because they're basically showing us that they're listening, but we're not really being heard. They know that this is happening, and they're saying, hey, we made this a federal holiday. That's all you're going to get. And me coming from my background, from being one of the first people being here, it hurts. There has been so many things, talking to my family members, talking to my great grandma at the time, and like listening to their stories, and not even getting anything from it. They have been here. They built this land. They were brought here, and all we get is a hi, you're recognized, and that's it. And it really hurts. And I feel like a lot of people are angry about it, but what can we do if we're not in charge? We don't have the leadership that's needed to really make movement.
And Nikhil, as you know, I've said many times, because the Black population in the United States, if you include mixed race, is only about 15%. Without the allyship from other races, as a voting bloc, you're not going to, the black peoples of the United States are not going to move the needle much far where it's at. The other concern that I have, where now that Juneteenth has been made a state holiday and a federal holiday, is the commercialization of Juneteenth that is now inevitably going to happen. I'm in the marketing industry. Now, I certainly have not had anybody call me today going, so, David, how can we profit off of Juneteenth and turn this into a marketing holiday? But as somebody who's been in marketing for 20 years before shifting kind of to journalism, I know these conversations are going on, right? It's like, so what can people do that is not performative? And I only use this as an example. I'm not saying Starbucks is thinking this right now, but right, so they don't go to a Starbucks next Juneteenth to get a venti Juneteenth flavored coffee, right, to show their allyship. Look, it's purple.
Yeah, no, and it's exactly like that. I would say, in my opinion, I don't shop at Starbucks because of how biased they are, especially with last year's remembering not being able to have anything Black Lives Matter in the beginning. Remember that?
Yes.
And then they got so much pushback that finally Black Lives Matter everywhere. It's happening. And now to it. Juneteenth, Jubilee, shop here. What people really should be doing is supporting local Black businesses, supporting your local artists, your local people who are advocating in your area, and not just throwing your money to places that are literally taking it and doing nothing but building their wealth and making the community more gentrified and everything in that sense.
I just want to let our viewers know, we know that we're having a very poor connection with Nikayla, unfortunately, where she's at. They're experiencing an outage with their broadband provider. So she has had to kind of drive to a spot where she can get a little bit of a cell connection. So we are aware that the connection isn't great. We're winging it. This is kind of the best that we can do, and I really appreciate our audience for their patience. Nikayla, I wouldn't be a journalist if I didn't ask a tough question, so I'm going to ask a tough question. Because, first of all, I agree with your viewpoint. The best thing that somebody can do on Saturday, on the 19th, is to support Black small business. And I will also say, because if we think of, right, Wingstop is Black owned, and I know people probably think of Wingstop as more as a big business, and I know there's Wingstop locations here, but if you want to go get wings, go to Wingstop. Full stop on that, no pun intended. I was emailed today being told that there's going to be an event that is going to be going on in parallel with Capitol Hill Pride, and that event is going to be, there's all these events that are going on, as you know, last week, this week, and next week. We're going to go to commercial. Are we having fun yet tonight? Namibia is our documentary that is coming up at the end of the year. I know it says fall 2021, and as I would like to remind people, fall of 2021 ends December 20th. So I would say that Namibia is probably coming in technical fall, but a very, very late fall. We're going to pull Nikalia back in and get our fingers crossed. Nikalia, what I was saying before we dropped, there's multiple events that are going on that are obstinately labeled as being in support of Juneteenth. Right? There were events last week. There's events this week. There's events, I understand, planned next week. There is an event that's planned next week where organizers are going to be charging people to go in based upon their skin color. So people that are white and pasty will be charged more than people who are BIPOC. I guess my question to you is, because I agree with you that the best way that a person like myself can support Juneteenth, shut up and listen and learn, and two, go out and support a Black business. And there's lots of wonderful Black businesses to support. But when organizers do something like this, and I get the intent, but does that put up a barrier to the white community and potentially to white allies who are going to go, well, how am I going to support you if you're going to charge me more to participate in what to learn? I'm curious on your view on this.
I think that's a hard one. I do see the conflict. I don't really agree with it, but I will say that they are allowed to do what they want in that way. But it does show, and it does do a lot of harm. But there is some intention into it. I think that we try to make these Black spaces, and they're always someone else trying to be inside of them, and we can't stop them, so might as well charge them to be there. That's all I can really say to that. That is it is a very much a conflict, but
it may help to keep Matthew away, that's for sure.
Yes, might help keep a few people away, but I think that the idea needs to be a little bit more perfected in that sense, where maybe you're buying a ticket, but you're buying for two, so the one that's for free is for a BIPOC person. I work with people who are artists who charge them as much as they charge so they can let BIPOC people come in and have what they can afford in that sliding scale. And I think that's better wording or better presentation how they're putting it right now. I think that BIPOC people should be supported in any way in that sense. And it's something that's really, in my opinion, justified. Where if you're paying for this, know that your funds are supporting BIPOC people in that way.
We've talked from time to time, right? I think this is about the third time you've been on the show in about a year. And we've talked, and I'm going to ask kind of the question that I've always asked, State of the Union on systemic racism and racism on the East Side in general. Do you feel, the last time we talked, right, we felt like there's some progress going on, but it's nowhere near enough and it's nowhere fast enough. There are some communities on the East Side that are doing a pretty terrible job. And there's some communities on the East Side that at least appear to be trying, but could be doing a better job, right? We're not giving anybody an A here. There's some communities that we're probably giving F and D minus twos. And there's probably a few communities, right, that we could give a C plus, maybe a B minus every now and then, but they're not doing enough.
They're not. I mean, I can tell you which cities, in my opinion, aren't doing enough. And I can tell you that there are a few cities that I see on the East Side that are really trying and getting those equity and diversity consultants and really paying and supporting as much as they can in their knowledge. But when it comes to a lot, I still say what I say. There are still more Black Lives Matter signs in these neighborhoods than there are Black people. And that's one of the problems. There are 2 or 3 Black teachers in the Lake Washington School District, or a handful from my knowledge, but yet how much space is being taken from that and things, and there's a lot of work to be done. I mean, today 4 o'clock, racist things happen, every day things happen here. And I still moved here 2 years ago, do not feel safe. I feel safe in very small areas, and I try to amplify the Black voices in our community so they can be heard. But there's only so much I can do as an individual. And we need more people in our community who advocate for us, but work on themselves first. Because when I talk about optical allyship, it's really working on yourself so you can jump into spaces where you are needed. But you can't do that if you're saying, oh, I read this book, I'm not racist. It's way more than just reading a book.
Yeah. I watched
Yeah.
13th Amendment last year. Problem solved.
And I get people who do that. And it's just like, great, you watched a movie about racism. Okay, do you not see the problem? And I think that what the real problem is, they take it upon themselves because they feel so entitled to this work as if it's their own, and then counts out Black voices altogether. I deal with nonprofits in that sense, and it's just upsetting because you can't advocate for BIPOC or Black folk without having Black folk in those circles, which they don't have. And so what are you doing? Causing more harm.
Yeah, and it's something that we wrestle with as you know, as a publication. We wrestle with this issue. This is why we try to bring on BIPOC guests or Indigenous guests or people that are subject matter experts in this area. Because I've said many, many times, I mean, I could be an ally, I can be educated, I can share what I know, I can sit and write it. We can hire writers and sit and write it, but it's still not. I am never going to understand the emotions and the things that you have to go through as a straight white male that you experience as a Black female living in a community that is 1.4% Black.
Yes. And I think the hardest part is when I do speak about oppression and racism and everything like that. The main thing I get told is I should be grateful for being here. I should be grateful that I'm even here. And it's just like, great, I am grateful. But I would like Black communities who are underfunded and undersupported and things to live this life too, and to be in these neighborhoods because it's beautiful. It's a great scenery, but the people, I wouldn't vouch on them. So it's definitely, it's hard.
Nikhila, one of the things that I always wrestle with is when people vote against their own interests. And we wrote a piece, God, it's like a couple of years ago. It actually wasn't. And what the piece was is that banks, urban planners had run a playbook in the inner cities. And in running this playbook, they gutted the inner cities. They created food deserts. They created banking deserts. They created technology deserts. And people that live in those areas and in the cities are disadvantaged because of everything and the systemic racism that has been set up around those systems. But then the story went on to say there's nothing left to take anymore out of these areas. They have been taken and robber baron till there's nothing left. So the banks, the companies that do this stuff have moved on, and they're starting to do it in rural America. And something we've learned in the last week, BlackRock, JP Morgan, they're buying entire neighborhoods. They're literally coming in and buying like neighborhoods of 100, 140 houses right now. They're outbidding people by 20 to 50%. JP Morgan says everyone's going to rent their house in 10 years. No one's going to own a house in the United States of America except for the super rich and elite, and people are going to be happy about it. And this gets to my point of people that voting against their own interests. A rising tide lifts all ships. And do you find frustration when you see legislation, things like voter rights? Voter rights just like is going to benefit everybody. This doesn't hurt anyone. This benefits everyone. And do you get frustrated with other people when they're against this stuff, when they're essentially working against their own interests?
I mean, I can say that for everything that advocates for Black lives and BIPOC people and everything that sense, because it's not just us who benefit from it. It's everyone who benefits from it. And so when we talk about housing and we talk about these properties and things, they don't understand. And then when we come to 10 years, everything's gentrified and rent is up. Rent itself becomes 3, 4, 5 grand. What then? Then, oh, we should have listened, or, oh, we made this mistake and there's nothing to be done. And so it's a hard one. It's a hard conversation. I think a lot of people don't really understand because they're just at this point where they're not self-aware, or they're just ignorant in that thing and in those things, and we're just gonna have to deal with it step by step. So
Here on the east side, the average home price is about $1.7 million now. That's like the average selling price right now. I know just a few blocks away from me, there are a couple of homes that have been bought. There's nobody living in them, and they got the signs up, like we buy homes, and I know what's going to happen. These homes are going to get torn down, and houses that are $2+ million are going to go where the $600,000 or $700,000 houses are sitting right now. And if you're talking about the Black community, which has 10% of the average wealth of a white American, it's even worse. So I look in my head, and this is where I go like, maybe Kirkland gets a C+, maybe, because we're not addressing these housing issues. And if you can't build generational wealth, even at a middle class generational wealth, you are perpetually behind. And this country actively destroyed Black generational wealth and has done it ever since the end of the slavery era.
yeah, I mean, I think about that every day. I think about the house that I live in, the house that I'll never be able to own. I think about if I'm going to be able to afford to live here in the next year or two. The house down the street from me, 1,200 square foot house, $1.2 million. And then I think about how the system state keeps failing us. And then I see that as rent is exploding and housing is exploding in the sense, where are we supposed to go? Because we just keep being pushed out. And it's something that I'm not fully ready to really act on. And I don't want to leave Washington. But if I can't afford to live here, that's what I'll have to do. And that's on the mind of a lot of people who are just like, what are we going to do next? How can we survive? Even though minimum wage is $15, can you do that can you live on $15? No. Can you live on 20? No. The average to live in Washington, you have to make $30 or more. Do you know how many Black and BIPOC people actually make that money? They would have to work 2 jobs, still think about how they can feed their family. And even though I don't have a child, I'm barely making rent as it is. But yet they want me here. Yet we say Black Lives Matter. Yet we say, oh, we want to make this welcoming, inclusive, and safe for all. But it's just like, where am I supposed to go? Where are we supposed to go? And it's just, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing that we can really do about it. There is one affordable housing building in Kirkland right now. One out of the whole city. And I wonder how many are throughout the east side. But yet we're just being pushed out.
To your point, I know we're kind of bagging on Kirkland, and I know when I was on Converge, I was bagging on Kirkland, and again, I will add again, right? It's like Kirkland is probably doing more than most communities on the east side. So love you, Kirkland. And you're doing better than a lot of other people, but you still need to do more. But to the point, I see like rooms for rent, $1,000 for a room.
For a room, $1,200. You still have to do the same thing as if you were renting an apartment. It's insane. It is insane that for a 200 square foot room, $1,000 or more, and you're not even getting the amenities, and it's like in a room in an apartment. People are doing this purposely, though, and it's upsetting. I'm living in a house. I'm living in a house, thankfully, but paying so much that I know for sure covers their mortgage and double. And it's just like they do this not they just do this for wealth. They do it for greed. And it's just going to keep happening as, tech comes in and everything else. And then they're going to wonder why does it take, servers that live in Tacoma drive here to try to make a living. They live in Tacoma. I've had conversations with people about their teachers having to leave their jobs here because they can't afford to live here and the commute's 2-3 hours away. So we can voice this all we want, and I don't mean to bag on Kirkland, but it's the whole East Side, and it's the truth.
And sometimes the truth hurts.
Yeah, it does. It does. I wish I could do something about it. I mean, it would be nice. I really wish one day I'd be able to live in a property and have a home and be a homeowner and have generational wealth. Is that something that's realistic? In all honesty, no. I can't go to school full time and I can't go work full time and try to do things that make me happy. I'd have to cancel something out. And it's just, is it worth it at the end?
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Nikhil, again, Saturday,
Yes.
Redmond.
I will it's going to be at the downtown Redmond Park, right next to Top Pot Donuts, if anyone knows where that is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be an amazing event. And even though I don't know off of the top of my head the information of Juneteenth, that's one of the reasons why people need to go to this. It's not just me. If I don't know, I know a lot of people on here do not know what Juneteenth is. And it's really not just a celebration, it's there to honor it. It's there to be there and hold space for our speakers and really understand where we're coming from. So thank you.
Yeah, we are planning to cover that on Saturday. We're doing a grand opening of a new coffee shop in Mill Creek that is Black owned on Saturday morning. And then we're going to your event, and then we'll be heading down to Jimi Hendrix Park to cover the event down there. So we have a very busy day planned for Saturday. I know they're planning another march on Sunday. They're doing marches both Saturday and Sunday, and we're planning to probably cover that march on Sunday, assuming I'm not totally fried from what will probably be an old school 10 to 12 hour streaming day on Saturday. I know I'm kind of cooked after those days. So, Nikhila, thank you for coming on the show. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for your patience with all of our technical issues. I am really, really grateful that you endeavored to come on under your challenging circumstances. Oh, I think we ended at the perfect time.
Well, perfect. Well, I hope if you can hear me, wear sunscreen. It's going to be very hot, and looking forward to seeing everyone there. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikhila. That was Nikhila Rice of Eastside Embrace, who is joining us on the show. Again, both of our guests were having trouble with connections tonight, so we did the best we could, and that's what we got. Malcontents, that's what we've got. Yes, do not forget sunscreen and water. You'll need it. All right, I can freestyle for like 3 or 4 minutes if y'all want to vamp up some questions. We can do that for all like 30 of you who are watching right now. I think I saw in the comments I needed to keep a screen down here where normally keep the comment screen going because we were having issues with Nikhila's connection. So I had to keep that screen there. But I did look like I saw a comment where somebody had posted the address earlier. So thank you very much for that. It's much appreciated. Yeah, we're going to be at Mixed Coffee in Mill Creek. We're going to be up there. We're going to be live streaming that grand opening. We'll go on the air somewhere between like 10:15 or 10:30. We'll stream for about 30 to 45 minutes while we're up there. I am really looking forward to coffee and what I understand, really delicious cheese bread. They have like this Ecuadorian cheese bread. They're black and Ecuadorian are who the owners, the heritage of the owners there. So mixed coffee. Push, can you hear us? Um, cheese bread. Yes, it's made with like tapioca flour and stuff. It's actually uh, it has like all different names in each country. I had an amazing conversation with Savannah from Mixed, and we were talking South American culinary stuff. And my brain is a strange place. There are weird, crazy things that are up in this brain, and one of the things was I know about this South America, and what I learned was the recipe is basically the same across South America, but each country calls it something different. So everybody here wants run an ad. I don't know how to feel. Y'all are telling me to run an ad. I don't know how to feel about that. We ran 2 ads tonight. We have a new patron. I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. Things have been a little chaotic here in the studio tonight. So with that said, thank you. We love our patrons. We love our patrons. We love our Venmo. We love our contributors. It's the only way we can keep doing this. It is the only way we can keep the lights on. We have a pretty big and amazing story that is coming up from a name that's going to be people are going to be a little surprised when they see who we have. But we've got a big story that's coming up with a big name attached to the person that is doing that story for you. So with that, I think what I'm going to say is thank you, Malcontents. This has been a little bit of a wackadoodle Malcontentment happy hour, but again, this wasn't on our side this time. Technology was behaving over here, and so with that, I think I'm just going to say, be good to each other. Malcontent out. I'll see you on Saturday. Malcontent News is a team of journalists, activists, and researchers with 3 key missions. A commitment to show an unfiltered view of the before, during, and after of key events, live, as it happens. To defend the First Amendment using our rights of a free press. And to amplify the voices of underrepresented individuals including Black, Indigenous, persons of color, and the LGBTQIA+ community. Our team is committed to seeking equality for all and holding those in power accountable. The easiest way to support Malcontent News is to bookmark our website at malcontentnews.com, like and follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, and in the Google News app. To provide financial support, you can become a patron, make a one-time donation through Venmo, or link your Twitch account to your Amazon Prime account and use your free subscription to subscribe to Malcontent News. Thank you for supporting independent journalism and for being a malcontent.
You fit the profile! You're the malcontent!
Nobody wants to hear the nonsensical ravings of a loudmouth malcontent.
He said malcontents Antifa, fuck you!
You are the biggest hypocrite on the face of the planet.
I say that you're a terrible reporter. That's what I say.